tonight. What they've done is starting July 1st, everybody, okay, this is biggie, okay, if you live in Mansfield, if you are a Mansfield resident and you want to park to take the train into Boston, okay, if you park in any of the town spaces or town lots, your fee has been cut in half.
Right.
It's down to $2 for Mansfield residents in those lots. If you park in the T lot, you're on your own. But anywhere that the town allows train parking, and I thought that they hit it right out of the park, and I just want to give them all a big, big thumbs up.
It's helpful because people are struggling, under the current scenario with gas prices the highest they've ever been at this point. And again, unfortunately, MBTA has proposed, I think we'll see it ratchet down, but they proposed a 43% rate increase.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything since 2006. They're $161 million in the hole.
Yeah, how does that happen? We won't go there. But
well, I don't know how it happens. And again, everybody always looks for somebody to blame. But boy, I'll tell you, I guess we should blame the politicians.
Yeah.
We just haven't led. We haven't taken strong positions to fix things that we can see that are quite apparent that need to be fixed. When 30% of your budget goes out in debt payments, there's a problem.
Right.
And that's where we're at.
Okay. Now, we had talked about unemployment rate being fairly, considering it's not too bad around here, but it's still high.
It's high. The problem is the national guys, I think the President of the United States is working with folks to kind of game the number.
Absolutely.
They are definitely going to, we will see, my prediction by June is the unemployment rate in the United States will be 7.9%.
Right,
Because
on
they
paper.
said it wouldn't go, yeah. And we're dropping people off like flies that have lost jobs and lost employment opportunities and have run out of benefit. They're no longer counted.
People have just given up.
Exactly.
And it is. And if you look, I think and you look at, of course, seasonal labor will come back now. But if you look, the real rate is somewhere around 16%.
Yeah,
it's
that's what I've
insane.
heard.
But the reason I bring up unemployment around here is, now, there's something about a jobs tour package that you're involved with?
Yeah, a Republican-led effort, we've been waiting, not waiting, we haven't been waiting, we've been working to put together some ideas around a jobs program that we can entice our small employers to make it a little easier to get into business, our entrepreneurs, which are the backbone of our, not only our communities, but our whole
You know what
economy.
the best formula for that is? Get government the heck out of their way.
Right, exactly.
That's the best formula.
Exactly. We've got to reform our current unemployment paradigm. We pay in Massachusetts the highest unemployment rates in the United States, and we have the highest number of weeks of benefit.
Yep.
And a lot of it is driven by the union folks that are well entrenched in the State House. And we've tried even under Governor Romney, I remember in 2004, when he came into office, we immediately went after that to try to reduce it and ran into a brick wall. Education, we need to work with the vocational schools because not every kid is ready to go to college. Not every student is college material, if you will.
No.
But the work that we are doing and can do even a better job at the VOTEC School at Southeastern Regional, they are producing some awesome kids. And they need some program expansion and some more help from the state to make sure that those are rocking along and working again with employers so that the employers are saying, if I need this sort of training, if I need this sort of worker, let's pair the things up and not, if you can't just decide what we're going to train them for. We've got to work in collaboration with, our employers out there to make sure that these students are getting the skills. Energy costs, outrageous. We're blessed that we're in Mansfield. We are blessed with our own homegrown municipal electric.
Oh, and any municipality that has their own. We've done good with the. And just go back to the fall with the storms.
It's incredible. Yeah, I didn't. I was under siege in both Foxborough and Norton with the power outages as a result of just a lack of maintenance, I think, more than anything.
Just to derail you for a second here on that, I got to ask you a question, seeing how you brought it up. Is Foxborough now, they're under what, National Grid or? Yeah,
National Grid is their carrier.
So these people that were out of without power for a week in October and then again in the winter, now National Grid wants to bill them for that?
Yeah, it's a very convoluted. It's a monopoly. But it's regulated by the government, and so the government needs to step up. The Department of Public Utility needs to step up and make sure that the first people to take the hit on the power outage is the investor.
Okay.
Not the poor guy that's lost all his food, or
Yeah.
or the small business.
They should be paying those people.
Well, again, the investors have to take the hit. So start with that, and then we'll go from there. But ultimately, at the end of the day, no matter what product we see, buy, or use, we all pay. But we need to. We've got some very complicated energy rules in the Commonwealth, which leads to the highest rates in the land. I was on the phone today with a small company in Foxborough that was being asked for an outrageous deposit for their electric use. And electricity, it's voluntary, so if somebody doesn't pay, you turn it off to a commercial entity.
Right.
I mean, it's like anything else. If you don't
Right.
get paid, you shut it off. But to ask for an outrageous deposit, not only from National Grid, but also from the power transmitter,
Right.
Continental or whoever it was, and this company is struggling. They're struggling.
And what do they tell them? If you don't like it, use the other electric company
yeah,
in town.
right, which doesn't exist.
It doesn't
Exactly.
exist, right? So they've got them.
The other piece we're working on is the healthcare. We need to really make it more consumer friendly and understandable, and allow for more options so that folks aren't being burdened with these outrageous rates. And then last, the taxes. What we've seen is a decrease in commercial vehicle registration, because our commercial vehicle registrations are the highest in the land. So
Yeah.
what somebody do, they register it in Rhode Island or New Hampshire or Maine or wherever instead of here. And so the community loses out on the excise tax. We lose out on the commercial registration fee. So we need to lower that and hopefully simplify the corporate tax system that we have.
Is there any talk of the sales tax going back down to 5%? Do you know anything about that?
No, I think we all blew it when we tried to get it to go to 3. 3 was just too much in the last.
That's what it started out.
You know.
Just so you're in you younger folks, it was instituted at 3. That was what they call the splitting wedge. Okay, I know you're familiar with that term. Okay, then it went from 3, it went up to 5. Now it's 6.25. And really, I could see where you'd want to go back to 3, because that's what it was sold as.
Right.
Initially, was a 3% sales tax. Of course, in real life, we know that doesn't work. But
Well, the problem is, we have a school building authority that gets a piece of the sales tax. The MBTA gets a piece of the sales tax. They jacked it to 6.25%. And what happened? It
less
went
sales
down.
tax,
Exactly.
less revenue.
So they ended up, their piece of the pie got smaller when they needed it the most.
Right. Now, you've got a state like Rhode Island, I believe they're 7%. At
Connecticut's-
6.25, I mean, they were jumping the border like you wouldn't
Right.
believe, to come over here to buy everything at 5%.
Right.
But I mean, for
Yeah, if you're a border town or a border industry or border small anything, if you're on the New Hampshire line, it's the demilitarized zone up there for 15 or 20 miles. It's horrible. And
I know.
again, what I think is going to happen, the discussion has been, we have a huge, there's over 220 or 230 tax credits that you can apply for in various industries and whatever it is. And that budget is about $23 billion a year of what we give away. But they count food, they count clothing, so those things that we don't pay tax on, to kind of come up with this tax expenditure budget. And quite frankly, there's been discussion for 3 or 4 years. I am not leading the discussion, but there's been discussion about let's tax everything. Let's just tax everything.
Oh, why not?
And the only way that would ever get any support, I believe, in the House of Representatives would be that we need to bring the rate down on everything so that we're back at a level where our rates are competitive with
Yeah, but
competing
again, it's a
states.
splitting wedge.
Absolutely,
it's
absolutely. It's a no-win, and we've got to learn to wean ourselves off of
Right.
some of the revenue.
I see there's a lot going on. Well, let's talk about a couple of local issues.
Okay.
All right, more than just some statewide stuff. And we'll start with the easier ones first.
All right.
The closing of the Taunton State Hospital.
Yeah.
Now, this is like a double-edged sword. You can kind of see both sides of this one. This is not what you guys like to call a slam dunk.
The slam dunk on closing and the slam dunk on seeing it one of two ways. There's 174 beds in Taunton. They service from our area, Bristol County, all the way to the tip of Provincetown. The governor and his Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary Bigby, in their infinite wisdom, want to transfer it all to Worcester. There was a new hospital built up in Worcester.
That's not a good thing.
Not a good thing, because typically the folks that are in those beds that are, you know, the very sick and need treatment, they also need the help from their families to try to, you know, the whole treatment plan evolves around that.
Let me guess, their families don't come from Worcester.
They don't come from Worcester. And
knew
let
it,
me
I knew
also
it.
guess that you can't get from here to there
Very easily.
easy. There's no public transportation. And so it's, again, what I look at is if they transfer 100 people up to Worcester, they put 75 back in the community. We're going to, in talking to folks in both the court system, the law enforcement, you know, so some of these folks are very ill and are going to be unable to function, and we're going to end up clogging in other things. But state government, what I've learned in the last 5 years is there's about 20 or 30 or 40, maybe even 50 silos. And if I can kick it out of my silo into the judicial, or kick it out over here, or kick it out over there, I'm good on my budget, and that's the way they operate.
Yeah.
And there's nobody looking at the whole. You know, it's just looking at what's in my silo and what do I have to do to close the budget gap. And you know, with patient staffing ratios, there's not going to be any change by moving them from A to B.
No.
So leave it open.
That's where very resourceful people like my good friend Sheriff Hodgson come into play, because, you know, there's a resourceful guy.
Right.
He's always working, trying to.
Well, he has
do
to.
things
You
for
know,
the area.
The governor just took a whack at his budget, partisan whack. 3 of the sheriffs are all Republican, and the budgets
They're
are
the
cut
ones that
for all
got
3.
cut. Yep.
Yeah,
And
that's
everybody
pretty-
else got a raise. But it's just,
that was one of those, the words we used at the state house is transparency. That was very transparent what was going on that day.
Yeah, really.
So-
Speaking of transparent, have you seen the governor lately?
No, I haven't.
He's too busy doing other things lately.
Yeah.
As we get some problems around here, but that's neither here nor there. What I caught wind of some elevator inspection fee. Sort
Yeah,
of. I
that
won't
was a-
call it a fiasco, but why don't you elaborate on that for us?
Well, that was interesting. Unfortunately, it was a tragedy a couple of years ago out in Auburn, Mass, where a young boy was actually killed on an escalator. And it was later determined that we had failed as a state to timely test them and inspect them and so forth. So with one fell swoop of the pen, we decided to go from a 5-year testing to a 1-year testing, with residential properties remaining at 5 years. Because it makes sense. If you have an elevator in your house, you're not running it like at the Empire State Building, so
No.
it's a single service, single use sort of thing. But in the regulations, we didn't define townhomes as being a residential unit. They were treated as though they were condominiums, more in a commercial sort of application. And so some folks from Herring Crest called the office to say, we're going to go from a 5-year increment test to an annual test, which costs approximately $800 between the state inspector and the union elevator guy, and the $400 for each person to test these elevators. And at Herring Crest, it's a townhome style down on East Street.
Yep.
You know, 3 stories, garage
right where
underneath.
they
and
are, yep.
Boom, boom, boom. Beautiful,
Over
beautiful
55?
spot. Over 55, I'm in.
Yeah, me too.
But a great community down there, great people, and we were able to, with the help of the Republican leader's office, draw some attention to it, and we were able to, in a sup budget, redefine townhome to make it a single-family residence.
Little language change.
Little language. It was 2 words, and I don't know whether we got it done on the cover of Night, but we got it through, and the governor signed it, and so those folks are back on what they bought. You know, if you hand somebody an $800 bill they weren't expecting,
Right.
when they're spending, you know, hard-earned dollars to buy those
Right, and
places and maintain
that's not really an inflated figure. I mean, if you've ever been out there and saw an elevator test and what goes into it, because they have to lug in all the test weights and stuff.
Yep.
They don't test them with people.
Right,
They
right,
test,
right.
They test
right.
them. And if you ever gone out in a building and you see these great big buggies like on wheels with big huge plates of weight in them, that's what those are for. Those are for testing elevators, and they have to do that. And you know, there is a lot to it. So I mean, the $800, it's not. I hate. You know, I mean, it's not normal. It's not like a money grab with the
Right.
state. I mean, it
Right.
really is. You are. You know, it does pay for a service.
Right. But what we want to see as taxpayers is that service being provided. We never should have been in this spot in the first place.
Right.
Right? I mean, so anyway, I think we've gotten that straightened out. We're really pleased with the result. It happened I think it took us less than 6 weeks to fix it, which was just remarkable, because usually, up there, things will lay and get dusty until somebody can pull the plug and get them moving. So we're happy to do that.
Now, I got to ask you, let's see, we'll move along here. The Tri-Town Drug and Alcohol Partnership, and that is for Foxborough, Norton, and Mansfield.
Right, all three.
Okay, all three, yeah,
Yep.
one of each.
Yep.
And what in January you held the amazing race?